Hey guys, welcome back. So today we want to talk about another CZ handgun from history, and this one is the vz.70. The vz.70 is a 32 ACP or 7.65 Browning chambering. It's a popular cartridge for World War II era handguns. This one started life as the vz.50 and then underwent a few minor facelift changes to become the vz.70, which is what I'm holding in my hand now. And again, it was chambered in 32 ACP, and the Czechs developed it in the late 40s, and it went into service with police units in the 50s, and that's what they developed it for, was police service. So the vz.70 is an evolution of the vz.50, which took place in the early 70s, hence vz.70, and this stayed in police service until probably right around 1983, I believe, is when this handgun went out of production. This I got from my friends over at J&G Sales. They're very affordably priced, and the 32 ACP is a very common caliber. It's something you can pick up pretty easily just about anywhere. The handguns fire from a 9-round magazine, so it gives you 9 rounds of 32 ACP, and you can do 10 rounds if you want to carry one in the chamber. The handgun does have a manual safety, which is right here, but it also acts as a decocker. The pistol is loaded currently. I'm going to go ahead and cock the pistol. Again, there is a live round in the chamber. And I'm going to decock it by taking this lever and pulling it down, and it safely decocks the pistol, and it puts it in the safe mode. The gun can't be fired until you return the safety lever up to the fire position, and now the gun can be fired. So we're going to take a closer look at this little guy, and we'll show its predecessor, the vz.50, and just have some fun with this cool little 32 ACP caliber. Not going to win any match competitions with this little guy. Those sights are really sparse. But yeah, it's a neat little handgun. I love the little 32 ACPs. That's about as small as I go in military calibers as far as collecting goes. Don't care too much for the 25 ACPs, but the 32s are a lot of fun to shoot. Real quickly, guys, if you would like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best possible way to do that is to directly support us over at Patreon. At Patreon, you guys support us directly in return. We try to give some stuff back to you guys. We do original blog posts, we post behind-the-scenes information, we answer all of your private messages, but we also do things like give away $300 in ammunition every single month. Our friends over at Freedom Munitions give us that $300 to give away, so 3 lucky Patreons get $100 in ammunition every month, and you can use it to buy whatever ammunition on their website. And they don't just sell their own ammo, they sell other brands as well. Our friends over at Forge from Freedom, who make our MAC t-shirts, they give away 5 t-shirts every month to 5 lucky patrons, and again, you can pick whatever style of shirt that you want. But if you're a squad leader or above, you get special pricing over on the Copper Custom website on select items. But all of our Patreons will post coupon codes every once in a while, once or twice a month, so all of our patrons can get a blowout deal on something like a flashlight, red dot sights, firearms, all sorts of cool stuff, bags, rests, things like that. So that's how we try to give back to you guys for directly supporting us over on Patreon, because YouTube has demonetized us, and they're doing it not just to gun channels, but to airsoft channels, to knife channels, the gaming channels. So that's how we've decided to move forward, and that's through direct support from you guys. But also, guys, please consider supporting other folks out there that are content creators that you regularly consume their content as well, and they have Patreon pages. Please consider supporting them as well. Thanks, guys. We do appreciate that support. When the vz.70 runs empty, the gun will lock open. But you will discover that the handgun does not have a slide stop or a slide release. So when you remove the magazine, reload it, you will have to take the full magazine, and it has a little windowed magazine showing 9 rounds, insert it into the pistol grip, and then pull the slide to the rear and release it, and now the handgun is ready to go single action. Again, if you want it to go double action on that first shot, just manipulate the safety down, and that makes the weapon safe. The trigger can't be pulled. Push it up to the fire position, and now you can fire that first shot double action. and it locks open. The little guy's shooting to point of aim. I'm aiming at the center there of the target, which is about 7 yards away. Now, when you go to reload the gun, the magazine release is tucked away right here in front of the grip panel. It can be a little bit challenging to get to. Hitting with your thumb is hard if you have small hands because that grip panel is kind of protecting it a little bit. But if you reach in there and push hard enough, the magazine will come out. Grab a fresh magazine here. Insert it into the grip. It does have a little pinky extension. And then just pull the slide to the rear, and the weapon is once again ready to fire. Pretty neat little gun to shoot. J&G Sales currently has these in stock. Again, that's where I found this little pistol. One of those affordable surplus handguns that's made with the with Czech quality, which is typically very high. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of CZ firearms in general. And yeah, this gun's no different. What a fun little pistol to shoot. Now this one's very similar to the Walther PP. I think it draws some of its functional cues from the Walther, as many guns do. The Walther's a very influential handgun throughout history, and this gun, I think, copies it in a number of different ways. We'll talk a little bit about that during the field strip. As you can see, the handgun runs perfectly. We're shooting some Fiocchi ammunition. It's courtesy of our friends over at Freedom Munitions. Again, they sell all sorts of ammunition now over at Freedom Munitions. There is a code down below, and it will give you 6% off anything in the store. And I do not receive any kickbacks, any financial kickbacks from you using that code. It's just a thank you to our audience for watching the channel. All right, let's load up the vz.50 and do a little bit of shooting with it. Let's field strip the vz.70 and see what it looks like on the inside. First, you'll want to remove the magazine from the gun. Right here is the magazine release, and as previously noted, it is kind of tucked away behind the grip of the gun. It's kind of a half circle. You push that in and draw the magazine out. It's worth noting that the magazine has windows on the left-hand side, and of course it holds 9 rounds of the .32 ACP. Now we'll make sure that the weapon's clear by grabbing the slide serrations and pulling it to the rear and checking the chamber. The gun does not have manual facilities to lock the slide open. The only way to lock it open is with an empty magazine. So I'm going to leave the magazine out of it. There's no need to have it in the gun. We've already checked to make sure that the weapon's clear. Now we have a button that protrudes quite a ways away from the slide. You can kind of see how big that button is. That's your takedown button. So you'll reach forward, holding the pistol like you're shooting it, and with your index finger, push that button in and hold it. As you're holding that button in, you'll draw the slide to the rear until it stops and then lift up, and it'll just go forward off the frame of the pistol. Now again, it's very much like a Walther PP, a fixed barrel, recoil spring that rides over the barrel, and then a lower receiver. This is as far as you need to take the gun apart to field strip it. To put it back together, now we'll also note that the gun, when you pull the trigger, there's a little tiny arm that comes up right here. That little tiny arm interfaces with a plunger in the safety, in the slide that acts like a safety. That plunger only protrudes when the trigger's pulled, and it acts on this little plunger here in the slide. That will free the firing pin up so that the firing pin can move forward. So in theory, the gun is drop safe if you were to carry it with a live round in the chamber, because the trigger must be pulled to free up the firing pin for the gun to fire. I'm going to go ahead and cock the pistol. You have your recoil spring. You'll notice it's flared on this end, and it's not flared on the opposite end. Put the flared end out towards the end of the barrel. So you'll slide it over your barrel like that. You're going to take your slide and put the spring nose in to the slide, push this button and draw it to the rear, try to line it up with the barrel. This takes a little bit of effort, and then draw all the way to the rear, push your release button in, and then just push the slide down onto the rails and it should go home. As previously noted, this is your decocker safety. So to decock the weapon to make it safe, you just push down on that. You'll notice the hammer will drop, making the weapon safe. That is all that is required for field stripping the vz.70 and the vz.50 pistols. They're identical in that regard. Here's the vz.70 and here's the vz.50. They look almost identical. As a matter of fact, they use the same magazine. The only real difference between the two handguns are really some slight cosmetic changes. You'll notice that the grips are slightly different in texture. You'll also notice that the vz.70 has a hole through the hammer and the vz.50 does not. Everything else seems to be very, very similar between the two handguns, and from what I've read, many of the earlier vz.50s, which this is, were upgraded later to vz.70s by simply swapping out the parts to update it. I can't say that I noticed any difference in the trigger pull or anything like that. I don't even know why they went from the vz.50 to the vz.70 because they are so similar. But let's go ahead and shoot the vz.50 now. Again, it uses the same magazines as the vz.70. Now, because you don't have a slide stop slide release, there's no way to manually lock that slide open. It has to lock open on an empty magazine. So I'm going to insert a fresh magazine, give it a good whack on that pinky extension because otherwise it won't seat properly. Pull the slide to the rear and the gun's ready to go. Again, you have that decocker safety and that makes the gun safe so it can't be fired, trigger can't be pulled. Put it up on fire and now the vz.50 can be fired. Magazine release is in the exact same spot. Again, insert a full magazine, pull the slide to the rear. On the table in front of me, I have the vz.70 and the vz.50 laying side by side. Can you tell them apart? Let's go through the differences of the handgun. Now, as I previously mentioned, the vz.50, which is this pistol right here, the vz.50 was worked on in the late 40s, went into service in the early 50s, and that's why it's model number 50. The handgun was later changed, just some minor changes, and was then adopted as the vz.70, which I have here, and this is the pistol you can pick up currently at J&G Sales. The handguns have some very subtle differences, so much so that a lot of the older vz.50s, I've read this anyway, were updated to the vz.70 standard, even though the markings obviously would have been different, simply by changing out these few pieces that I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to set the vz.70 over here and show you some of the features of the vz.50, then point out what they look like on the other pistol. On the right-hand side, the takedown button on the 50 is rounded and knurled much like a spurred ball hammer would be on a handgun. You'll also notice as you come back that the grips have a different contour and texture to them. You have the old school CZ logo, very prominent, quite large here, and then you have the serrations. If we turn the pistol to the other side, you'll notice that the contour again is very different, especially around the decocker. You'll notice it looks, kind of bubbly. It's rounded edges and stuff. And then you'll notice that the grip panel is more rounded as it comes to this surface over here. And then we have the magazine release button on the vz.50, which has horizontal serrations. It's still kind of a half circle, but it's much more pronounced. It sticks up quite a bit more than it does on the vz.70. Now that may be one of those changes that came about lowering this button because perhaps police officers are accidentally releasing the magazines on the gun. Another obvious difference is right here on the hammer. You'll notice the hammer does not have a hole through it. It's a solid hammer. The magazines are identical for both pistols. So it would be easy for an armorer to go through, swap out the grips, swap out the magazine release, swap out the hammer, and then swap out the takedown button to upgrade this 50 to a 70. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the 70. I'll show you those same components on the revised pistol. Starting off right here, you'll notice that the texture is different. It's no longer rounded. It's just square and flat and knurled on the top. Coming back, you'll notice that the grip panels don't have as much of a contour to them. They're more squared, have a different pattern texture on them. The CZ logo is much smaller up here on the top of the grip panel. And then, of course, the hammer now has a hole through it. It's still a spurred ball type of hammer. It just has a hole through it. Coming around to the other side of the pistol, you'll notice, again, the texture differences, and you'll notice that this area here has been simplified. It's just a big, deep U shape versus those little bubbles that I pointed out earlier. The lever appears to be the same on both pistols. Now here you'll have a difference, again, in the magazine release. It's below the surface of the grip now and much harder to access. It takes a more conscious effort to access that magazine release to drop the magazine out. And again, the two pistols use the same magazine. The sights are pretty much the same. On top of the pistol, I have the 50 on top and the 70 on the bottom. You'll notice the texturing across the top of the 70 has more of a texture to it, where it's more smooth on the 50. Other than that, the pistols are nearly identical. Let me show you guys why I say that the vz.50 and the vz.70 draw much of their design influence from the classic German Walther PP, or Walther, but I always mispronounce it as a Walther. I'm sorry, guys. This is a World War II era PP next to the vz.70. As you can see, they're very similar externally, but the similarities are more than skin deep. I'm going to set the vz.70 aside and show you the disassembly really quick of the PP, and you'll see, I believe, why I say that the two handguns are very, very similar to each other and where the Czechs drew much of their design inspiration. So to release the magazine on this gun, the magazine release is in the exact same spot as it's found on the vz.50 and 70. Also, you'll notice a lack of a slide stop or a slide release. The gun will lock open on the last round fired, just like the 50 and the 70 will. To release the magazine, push the button, and the magazine shoots out. And it, again, is very similar to the Czech design. Now I'm going to check to make sure that the weapon's clear, look inside, and I'm going to let the slide go home. Now the really big difference, we have a button that would be found here on the Czech design. On the German design, the trigger guard lifts up, and then you push it over and rest it. My edges are kind of worn because the gun is old, but the trigger guard will rest off to the side like that. That frees up the slide so it can be pulled to the rear and up, just like the 50 and the 70, and now it will just slide forward, and look at that. Pretty much the exact same design. So that's why I say the two pistols are pretty similar to each other, and obviously the Czechs did draw some ideas from this classic German design. To put it back together, you'll notice that you have the flared end of the recoil spring out towards the muzzle end. The tighter fitting portion goes up against the receiver here. Line the two up, push forward, set it down, put your trigger guard back into place, and the decocker on the PP is right here. To decock the weapon and make it safe, it also disables the trigger. And the PP is back together. So obviously, the Czechs did a little bit of borrowing in the design department from the Germans. When you're shooting retro classic handguns like this, you have to practice the FBI crouch. Yes, the FBI would have been very effective with this handgun. Guess we could call it the KGB crouch. Fun little guns. A lot of fun. If you've hung around to the very end of the video, I want to thank you guys. And as a reward, I just found out via email that the guys over at J&G Sales are going to offer $20 off one of these vz.70 pistols if you would like to purchase one. The regular price is $249 is what I picked the gun up for. They're going to knock 20 bucks off if you use the code CZMAC20, and it's good for 30 days after this video goes live. That's awesome. I received no kickbacks from J&G Sales. They're just doing that as a thank you to you guys for watching the Military Arms channel. I love it when companies do that. Look down below, guys. In the video description, there's several companies that offer you discounts on ammunition and other things. I urge you guys to take advantage of that. I do not receive any kickbacks from any of those codes. I break down where we fund ourselves mostly through Patreon and also t-shirt sales, but I break it down in the description so you guys know exactly how we earn a living over here on the Military Arms channel. But yeah, use that code. It's good for 30 days. If you're watching this video 2 years from now, sorry guys, the code no longer works. So if you're looking to pick one of these up, swing over to J&G Sales and use that code and pick one up for $229. Also, guys, if you would like to support us here on the Military Arms channel, another way to do that is to swing by and check us out over at coppercustom.com. That's our online store. We're also doing a promotion over there. If you buy anything in the store, anything, something as simple as a Mac patch, you can sign up for 1 year free membership to GOA. So, doesn't cost you anything. We're receiving no kickbacks from the Gun Owners of America, but you can become a 1 year member of the Gun Owners of America and help them in our continued fight for our Second Amendment rights. Also, we have a new portion over on our website. We have a special area for our Patreons who get special pricing, but we also have a new auction site that's up, and we're going to put various things up on the auction site. Sometimes we come across really good deals, and there may be just 1 or 2 of them. We'll put them up for auction, and sometimes we may use some of the video guns that you see here on the channel that are being featured, go up for auction after we're done doing the video. So please swing by Copper Custom and check that out. Guys, this is our 10th year doing the Military Arms channel. And we want to thank you guys for sticking with us and helping us grow through these 10 years. And we greatly appreciate your support. And guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.